Welcome to this week's Down Home with Tina. I'm your host, Tina Thompson. Sometimes there are things that happen in our lives that I think are just so touching and moving and the sweetest things, and they happen sometimes at the most unexpected times. It was back in April that we had purchased a new home and moved into it. We have a fenced-in yard, and right after we moved in, my little fur baby, she's about 4 pounds, white fluffy little puppy dog that I will take out from time to time out into our fenced yard to do her business. And that is when we met our little neighbor girl, and she is 4 years old. And right from the start, they would go running to the fence to greet each other. And they do this now about once a week. Do they end up being outside at that same time? And it was just recently that this happened. And I'm telling you, every single time that it happens, my fur baby Sage goes running over to the fence, and the little girl is yelling out Sage's name. And I'm telling you, if Sage could talk, she'd be yelling her name as well. Because it's almost like they're best friends that haven't seen one another for years. They're just so very excited to see one another. By the way, wouldn't that be great to do that with our friends every time we see them? It's kind of like, even though you just saw them the day before, and then as I say that and I think about it, most of my friends, that's how I am towards them and with them. But anyways, where I'm going with it is they see one another and they greet one another in such a joyous, fun, neat way. So Sage goes over to the fence and the little girl pets her this one certain occasion. And the little girl has, it's a dandelion, and it's a dead dandelion. It's right where you have the little fluffy part where you can blow it and let it go. Well, she's holding it after she pets Sage, and she goes, "Here." And I go, "Oh, is that for me?" And she said, "Yes." So I took it, and then the little boy that must have been visiting the family that day, he goes, "Are you gonna blow it?" I go, "No, I think I'm going to take it in the house and I'm going to put it in a glass of water and keep it for as long as I can." You know, and he kind of looks at me like, okay. He's probably like, weirdo. But that's okay. So anyways, I thought it was the kindest thing. So this is the funniest thing. I take it in the house, and I've got a picture to show you of it because I thought it was the coolest picture. So I send my fiance this picture, and I go, "Look at this cool picture in the kitchen on the counter and how this dandelion looks." He responds with, "It's a dead dandelion." And I was like, I started laughing. I go, "That's right. You know what? It is a dead dandelion, but it is the perfect gift for the perfect moment at that time, because it certainly put a smile on my face. Witnessing my little fur baby, the little neighbor girl, greeting one another like they hadn't seen one another in years, as well as receiving a gift at the same time. So I was just like, oh, that is really, really funny. So here it is. It might be a dead dandelion, but it is the perfect dead dandelion. And there you go, folks. If you get a chance to just spend some time with some youngins, or you get the chance to give somebody, even if it's a dandelion that's seeing its last days, share it, because you never know. It could put a smile on their face and warm their heart. You're watching Down Home with Tina, and I've got a great show with some fun guests coming up this next half hour.
The Frankie Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our two locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster and 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm a recovering addict. For 10 of the last 11 years, I've been struggling with addiction, homelessness, incarceration, and just loneliness. However, since getting clean this past year, I've accomplished more than I have in those 10 years combined. After attending outpatient counseling services, inpatient counseling services, living in a sober living house, and attending 12-step meetings, I've been able to regain control of my life and begin to achieve goals I've always dreamed of. Addiction can destroy lives in many ways. Whether you need help with childcare or financial assistance, everyone deserves a new beginning. Recovery supports are just that, supports for recovery. My life mattered. Your life matters too.
This message is brought to you by the Fairfield County Adam H. Board.
Welcome back to Down Home with Tina. I have, who hasn't been with me forever, I think a year.
It has been a while.
It's been a while. Anna Tobin, she's the Executive Director of Meals on Wheels Older Adults Alternatives of Fairfield County. What a year it has been for you guys, because I mean, your clients are the ones, they say, the elderly. You've got to be careful in where they go and what they do. So what's it been like for you guys since the pandemic has happened? Because I mean, you couldn't shut down, because what do you guys do?
Right, well, exactly. It was like drinking from a fire hose. I mean, if you've ever tried that, it's just like information, constant info, and very hard to keep up. But, of course, as an essential service, Meals on Wheels is expected and wants to be there, for our seniors from the get-go. And, the health and safety of our seniors was of utmost importance to us, as well as the safety of the volunteers and the staff that go out and make those deliveries, or the in-home assessments, or provide the in-home services. And so, of course, as soon as this hit, you're into action mode of pulling out that disaster preparedness plan.
And how do you do that every single day?
Which we laughed about, because, when you're making these plans, under pandemic, you have wear a mask and wear gloves. That's not quite enough, and so as we were getting instruction from the Ohio Department of Aging, from the Ohio Department of Health, from our own local health officials, and from our funders like Central Ohio Area Office on Aging, we were learning very quickly the best protocols and best practices for making sure our seniors receive the services that they need, but also receive them safely.
Yes, yeah, because you are going to their homes every day delivering these
Exactly.
meals.
And so, there was all kinds of issues up front, as there were all kinds of issues for so many different businesses and organizations. Was the food supply going to be there when we're ready to order it? Was personal protective equipment going to be available as we needed? And that kind of thing.
Anna, what did you all do? Because it was shut down in the beginning. Did you still have people go in and?
Well, of course, one of the first things that you put into place is what are the safety protocols and the best measures that we can put into place. So safe delivery went into action right away. And so what that looked like was, meeting the seniors at the door, or getting a visual on the seniors, knowing that they're home, and then leaving that meal at the doorway or outside the porch, but knowing the senior was on their way to get it. Now, in the past, we've always had seniors sign for their meals.
Okay.
And of course, that went away because we're not handing instruments back and forth to collect signatures. So, and then our drivers, all masked up, have the hand sanitizer, the wipes, everything in their vehicles to make sure that they're being safe as well. Because, like you said, you're going from house to house to house, and certainly we wouldn't want to spread from house to house to house.
Right. Some of these seniors, you're the only visitors that they would get. And I say as in back and forth a conversation for them to socialize at all. Have any of them said anything about how much they've missed having that interaction with your volunteers? Because you can't. It's literally that not seeing, not hanging out for a few moments to see how they're doing, or that part of it. How's that been for them?
Right, so it's been rough on our seniors of the isolation, the self-isolation alone, whether they were a member of our program or not. It's been rough for many seniors. And so I think our seniors that are in the Meals on Wheels program do know that we're there for them. And so our telefriend service has really ramped up, and that's telephonic support, where we're checking in and having casual conversations.
Good.
Just to keep our seniors connected. And then another way that we're extending ability to connect is our activities coordinator. While she used to do activities on site, we're doing them virtually. And I think that's pretty cool. And so whether it's, we do telephone bingo. So we do a giant conference call. And the seniors, basically, all they need to do is call in, because some seniors are not yet willing or able to do the Zoom and that kind of thing. So the telephone bingo works great. And that's brought in a lot of seniors who wouldn't otherwise even be coming into the facility, for activities. So it's great to keep them connected in that way.
Good.
We've had people write letters and cards that we're able to get out to the seniors. Our newsletters themselves have become like a little mini highlights magazine. We do all kinds of puzzles and games, recipes, just to keep seniors thinking and engaged and having something to do. Gina also takes crafts. We have seniors who opt into our craft program where they're able to receive a packet, they make a craft.
Oh.
She did a community quilt, which is awesome. She's just recently done a gratitude garden. And both of these projects, she sends home items to the seniors. They each individually complete a piece of the project. They return it to the organization, and then Gina compiles it. So we have a giant quilt hanging on our wall, and it's called our community quilt. And it has each individual senior's piece attached to that. And then our gratitude garden, each petal has what a senior is thankful for. And so this garden is a bunch of beautiful flowers, and the petals all representing the gratitude that our seniors are expressing. So it's really cool.
It's great that you guys are so creative to be able to do these things for our seniors, to continue to do things, and they're not isolated at home sitting there doing nothing.
For sure. And you know, to address the emergency needs of seniors,
Yes.
again, as this all kind of started unfolding, you know, the emergency management team came to us and said, what can we do for seniors, you know, who aren't normally a part of your program, but you know, they're self-isolating, they can't get out to get groceries. So at Meals on Wheels, of course, we're stepping up to the plate, and we've instituted emergency grocery service. And so if you need groceries brought to your home, we're able to order those groceries, provide you with those groceries and get them delivered, as well as an emergency food pack. And that's a pack of 14 meals that we're able to bring to you and drop off on a one-time drop.
Very nice.
And as well as emergency housing stability assistance. So if you're at risk for foreclosure or eviction, or if you're at risk for shut off of any of your utilities, we're able to provide you with quick turnaround emergency funding to help stop those disconnects or that eviction.
Are you still in need of volunteers?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we lost some of our volunteers. As you know, many of our volunteers are retirees and elderly themselves. And so as this pandemic has continued, we've lost some of our seniors, but we have a real steady group that are still coming, and they're still delivering. But Tina, we have not stopped serving seniors, and the amount of seniors coming onto the program continues to increase. And so we've recently created another route. I mean, you know, we're up to 12 routes in the city now. I think when I first came on board, we maybe had 8, you know, so as you can see, the need continues to grow. And as that need continues to grow, we're always looking for volunteer delivery drivers, people helping in the kitchen or meal packing.
Yeah, well, and I know it flies. Time flies when I have you on with me. So we've got just about a minute and a half left. Anna, can you just share with us a little bit of, you've got a virtual raffle that's going on.
We do.
Meals for Wheels didn't happen. Yes.
So September, actually.
March for Meals, I mean.
Yeah, so September is Hunger Action Month.
Okay.
And so we tied a couple of fundraisers into that month to help raise awareness, first of all, of senior isolation and hunger, which hunger is real amongst our seniors. And so having that said, we do have many wonderful raffle prizes that we're going to raffle off that were donated by wonderful local business people and individuals. But I encourage you to visit us online at mealsonwheels.fairfieldcounty.org for a list of those raffle items. All you do is make your donation, choose what items you'd like to donate to, and we'll have the drawing on October 5th. And you know, if you're a lucky winner, you can watch us live on Facebook on that day and see if you win. And you're going to support a great cause, and you're going to help reduce senior hunger right here in Fairfield County.
Anna, as always, thank you so much. I got to get you on again before next year.
It's great to see you.
You too. I
love it.
Folks, I'm going to be back in just a couple of minutes. I've got a fellow who is going to talk with us about an upcoming levy that's going to be on the November ballot. It's quite important that you stick around, if you would please, to find out a little bit about that, because the fella says, I am not political, so I want you to hear what he has to say about that. It's Down Home with Tina.
Dagger Law has been part of the Lancaster community for more than 110 years. This is where we live and work. You'll see us at festivals, sporting events, and all around town. We consider our clients as friends, and we walk alongside you through challenging times. Whether you're a growing business, a changing family, facing litigation, planning your future, or dealing with land issues, we're right here. We are local. We are trusted. We are experienced. Dagger Law.
Welcome back to Down Home with Tina. I have a fella here who he gives back to the community and has for years now. He owns several businesses in the area. I'm going to say not necessarily in the city of Lancaster, but he does, I know, have one of those businesses. But he's not here to talk about the businesses. Folks, the way that Brad Hutchinson gives back, and this is a different way that he's going to share with us what he's been doing and working so hard. And he's got a really great team of folks at Company Wrench, I know that, and others that are on board that are just working really, really hard for a really important, it's a levy, it's a City of Lancaster income tax increase. Brad, how are you giving back?
Well, we were asked to co-chair and head up this campaign in order to try to get this income tax levy passed for an increase. Tax increases are never popular with people.
Right, yeah. But you're a popular guy, so well. you're helping folks to learn about why it's so important to saying yes in this.
We were approached, I believe, because we're not elected officials of the city and we're not city employees. Therefore, I think they felt like people would listen more. We wanted to dig in first and understand what the problems were so that we would not be trying to convince people of an unreal problem. So we had to realize the problems for ourselves. And once we dug in, the reality of it is the city is in crisis mode from a general fund standpoint. Mm-hmm. It's not an issue of whether we pass this or not. It's really going to be an issue if we don't pass it. How can we even cut deep enough to get to where we need to be? It's not a spending problem, it's a revenue problem. Revenues have just not went up and kept pace with the inflation rates. And then you've got the cuts that the states have made. When Kasich was trying to balance the state's budget, he took away all of the money that used to fund the cities. And mm-hmm. Lancaster lost between $2 and $3 million a year starting back 10 years ago. And then you had the elimination of the estate tax. So all of those revenue streams that used to come into the general fund has now been cut off, and mm-hmm. there's not been anything to make up the revenue stream. Then on top of that, you start looking at all of the new things that have come into play, like body cameras, tasers, mm-hmm. defibrillators, all of the rules regarding the safety forces with police and fire, but no additional funding has been brought in to cover those expenses. And
we're talking about our police and fire that are in buildings that are very old buildings on top of all of this.
Yeah, we went out, we wanted to see firsthand the conditions of some of the buildings, because even though as bad a shape as they're in, none of the firefighters actually brought that up to us. We went mm-hmm. and seen the facilities for ourselves, and even during the visits, that's not something that they concentrated on. They really concentrated on their lack of funding for additional employees, just simply to cover the basic emergency services that we need. So, the emergency services, we're operating on 1979 levels today as far as mm-hmm. police and fire employees. The city has grown. The runs have more than tripled. We can't continue. We're on a crash path, and we cannot continue down that path.
No, and it's just very hard too, because we want folks to understand that things have changed as times have changed. For instance, there are different products. There's Narcan, and I know that there's a shelf life to that. That needs to be replaced and replenished every so often. And so there are different kinds of fees that have acquired throughout the years for our fire and our police.
And they continue to go up,
mm-hmm.
Just like the computers in the cars. But it really, even with those, if you take those out of the equation, we still the revenue stream still doesn't meet the need. Mm-hmm. The biggest loss is the state revenues that used to come into the city. Yeah. So between that and inflation, the other stuff just kind of adds on to that ball and makes it bigger. But the real issue is the loss of the state revenues, $2 to $3 million a year, and then the fact that our inflation has outpaced the increase in taxes for multiple reasons. There are things that we discovered in this process that nobody had ever thought about, like the fact that 20% of our population is over 62 years old. So as they transition out of the workforce and into their retirement phase, they stop paying income tax. So when they're retiring, one would figure that they are probably at the top of their wage scale. Mm-hmm. So even if you replace one for one, if you have a new employee coming in at young to replace that senior, the problem is their wage isn't nowhere near what that senior's wage was at the end of their career. So you're still not getting dollar for dollar. Some people have made the comment, that it's not fair that seniors don't have to pay. The reality of it is, I mean, they've been paying for 30, 40, 50 years, and if they are to a point where they're drawing Social Security or they're drawing a pension, they've already paid tax on that money. So the seniors in this case, if they are on a fixed income, by fixed income we mean Social Security, 401k, any of your pension plans. So although some of them are subject to state and federal tax, none of them are subject to city tax, which is what this is. So we got to make it clear to the seniors that if you're on a fixed income, and that includes welfare, unemployment, there's a multitude of different streams in there, that they don't pay this tax.
Right.
And certainly our seniors, if anybody that's going to need the ambulance services of the fire department, it's probably going to be the seniors.
Yep. Brad, I have attended, folks, and I'm letting you know that, he knows this, the town hall meetings that you have had to date so far. And one of the big questions that I know has come up are the residents of Lancaster have asked, well, why can't you just take money from someplace else?
So one of the first things that we learned is government is very complicated, and all the money is basically in buckets. So you have general fund money, which is funded through the income tax, which is the fund that only pays for police, fire, and your administrative services. So your mayor, service safety director, your auditors, those types of people. All of your enterprise funds, so water, for instance, gas, sanitation, those are all funded through services provided to the public, and some of them may not be city residents. Our gas lines extend out beyond the city corporation limits. So there are residents who are not in the city who actually receive. So they pay, those services are paid for, and under no circumstances can you move money from an enterprise fund into the general fund. It's against the law. It's prohibited by the ordinance. And the point that I tried to make it, even if City Hall was literally falling into the street, and that's probably not too far off with the condition it's in, we still could not take, no matter how much money was sitting in those departments, we cannot move money from those departments to the general fund. It just can't happen.
Right. And Brad, I know too, and I just want to remind folks that are watching today as well, right from the start in all of this, you're not a political person. This is something that's important. And you don't over exaggerate things. When you say that about the City Hall, there are pictures showing of what could happen to the building if it's not maintained now, because it's already something that's been neglected because of lack of funds, correct?
Yeah, it's, the structure's 125 years old. It is a masonry structure. Actually, every structure that we talk about, City Hall, the 3 fire departments, and the police station are all masonry structures. So they're great in that they're very durable, but they're also bad in that once you start taking water into the walls, they deteriorate very quickly.
Remember, folks, coming from a man who knows how to remodel and redo.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the mid-off, and the mid-off is
a
masonry building, and really those are kind of some of the conditions we were dealing with there. But once you get a crack in the sandstone, water enters during the day when it's warm outside, and then at night when it freezes, the ice expands and a crack opens up. And that deterioration just compounds. For every year that you don't fix that problem and water gets in, it speeds up exponentially over time. And
you have done all of this work and studying before you and Jennifer Sidley even said, yes, we're going to take this on, to let the citizens of Lancaster know all of this important facts.
We knew it wouldn't be popular with the people, so the one thing we didn't want to do is lose our credibility with the citizens over a misfact or a misstatement.
Right.
So we've done the research. We've spent hundreds of hours pouring through the budgets, the audited financial reports. We've visited the fire departments. We've taken the pictures. We've talked to individual employees. So we wanted to make sure we had a good grasp and that we weren't getting our information third hand from somebody else.
Right.
So there's no question if we must pass this levy if we want to continue to be a vibrant city.
That's right, because we're losing police officers. I mean, we really are. Is that safe to say it just like that? Because of their uncertainty of a job.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but the levy has failed twice. So coming into this year, fire and police both have lost guys, and they have resigned their position here simply because of the uncertainty of to what's going to happen. And they're going to surrounding districts, Groveport, Canal, Winchester, different areas. They're getting better wages, they're getting better equipment, they're getting better firehouses, and they're making less runs. So it's not good.
There's just so much information that I just want to share with everybody, and we're so limited on time for this segment. But another thing also is if you look at, like, what is it, Canal Winchester, they have township fires departments from townships, whereas the city of Lancaster they're the ones that are funding this. They're not so much. So some of those surrounding areas, they have different ways of funding their...
Yeah, Pickerington and Canal Winchester are both parts of the cities are located in Fairfield County. So people compare us to them, and I agree with that. However, Pickerington Fire Department is Violet Township, so it is not funded through the city budget, and Canal Winchester is Madison Township. So of our budget, $10 million is for the fire department, and they have not one penny going to the fire department.
Right, right. So quite a bit that we were sharing with you folks. But Brad, you guys have a website that all of the town hall meetings have been video recorded that folks can go to and listen and watch. And they can call you, talk to you, walk through buildings, any of that, to find out more information if they need to before they decide to go out and vote.
Yes for Lancaster, that's our website page. That's also our Facebook page. We are open for one-on-one meetings. We'll do group meetings. Any question you have that's feasible to what, we will get you the information.
Awesome. Brad, thank you so much for taking the time, because again, I know you're so super busy, and thank you so much for what you and Jennifer and everybody that is involved doing. And I hope that you will get out there and vote at the election, or I know that you can do all of the other kinds of ways of voting as well, but important of just getting out there, because every vote does matter. And I'm going to be back in just a minute. You're watching Down Home with Tina.
Fairfield Federal. When it comes to our customers and our community, we go above and beyond to help. Our people make the difference.
We were retiring from Tucson, Arizona, and we made a retirement trip out around Ohio, having decided that's where we wanted to be. And we came across this town called Lancaster, and we fell in love with the downtown area where the fountain is and the memorials and the flags and all this stuff. And we looked around and I said, there's our bank right there.
There's something to be said about a community bank in your hometown.
Right. If you live in the community, you should do business in the community as much as possible. So it makes sense to bank with the community bank where you live.
Fairfield Federal is the bank to be at. If you live in this town, or any town actually, you want to bank at a local home bank. And the employees are happy here, they're conversant, customer service is through the roof. There's nothing more you could ask for.
Personal or business banking, whatever you need, we take it seriously because we know you do. Stop by today at any of our 3 locations and see why the difference is clear. Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan specializes in banking that revolves around you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Down Home with Tina. This is going to be my Did You Know segment, and I've got pumpkins on display here with me for the show. I don't know if they're quite in the shot right now, but I love pumpkins. They're so colorful, and when I think of pumpkins, I think of the fall and the gorgeous coloring of the trees. And I'm going to share with you about that next week. But first, we're going to talk about pumpkins, and I better get to it because I'm going to run out of time. Do you know that pumpkins are 90% water? They are also a fruit, so they are in the same family as cucumbers, gourds, and squashes. And what else about pumpkins? Have you ever had pumpkin seeds? Now, I know that you can get pumpkin seeds in the stores now because they offer them in all kinds of like flavors, spicy or salted or salt and peppered and things like that. But you yourself can make your own. You can roast them in the oven. You clean out the inside of your pumpkin and you take them and put them on a cookie sheet, and you can spray them, with olive oil or anything like that. And then you can also, after you put them in the oven for a little while, I'm not quite sure for how long or anything, you can Google that if you want to. But anyways, then you can sprinkle your own seasoning and whatever you would like on it. And it's a tasty little treat you can put in a baggie and traipse off to maybe a walk in the beautiful Hocking Hills or something like that. Also, one more thing about pumpkins. Every bit of the pumpkin is edible. Did you know that? You can, I cut mine in half, put it in a pan of water, you bake it in the oven, and then you can cut even the skin and everything off of it. Oh yeah, no, not the stem, that's not edible. Everything else of the pumpkin is edible. Put it in butter, cut it up, put it in butter, and you can fry it up. Folks, I wanna thank you so much for watching this week's Down Home with Tina. I hope you learned a little bit more about pumpkins this week. I hope you have a great week. God bless you and have a wonderful day.